You know, usually when we talk about reality, there is this implicit expectation of a solid foundation.
Right, like a baseline.
Yeah, exactly. Think about a stage in a theater. You might have all these different actors running around, stars, planets, black holes, you and me delivering our lines and, creating all sorts of complex cosmic drama.
Hmm.
But the stage itself, the actual wooden floorboards of space-time, we just sort of assume it's always been there. A fixed, static backdrop where physics simply, well, it just happens.
It is a very comforting assumption. I mean, for centuries, classical physics relied entirely on that fixed background.
Right, it's just the box we live in.
Exactly. We like to think the box we exist inside is stable and permanent, even if the contents inside the box are chaotically moving around and crashing into each other.
But what if I told you the stage is an illusion? Today, we are strapping in and putting on our theoretical physicist hats because we are going on a deep dive into a brand new, incredibly dense technical monograph that fundamentally shatters that illusion.
Yeah, we are looking at a paper published today, actually, July 18th, 2026. It's by Dr. Melvin Sewell and Venga Saikou out of the Cosmic University of Echo Rift Studies.
And it is a heavy read.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm.
But the core paradigm shift they are tackling is profound. They are arguing with rigorous mathematical proof that space-time is not a static background at all.
It's doing something.
Right. It is an emergent property. It is a structure that is actively, constantly being generated, driven by something they call multiversal information scaling and statistical mechanics.
And if that isn't mind-bending enough for you, there is a whole layer of intense human drama baked into this math.
Oh, the drama is real.
Because this paper, which, by the way, is titled On the Categorical Foundations of Information-Theoretic Geometric Tension, is not just some gentle theoretical exploration of the cosmos.
No, it's a shot across the bow.
Exactly. In the academic world, it is what they call a defensive prior art anchor.
Which is really just the polite, peer-reviewed way of saying it's an academic turf war. Sewell and Saikou are planting a massive, undeniable flag in the ground to say, we proved this massive paradigm shift first. Our architecture is the foundation everyone else is currently building on, and we have the timestamps to back it up.
Okay, let's unpack this, because before we get into the academic boxing match and who stole whose thunder, we really need to understand the actual physics they are fighting over.
Right, the actual science.
Yeah. We are talking about the mystery of cosmic emergence. And to even begin to grasp that, we have to talk about the second law of thermodynamics.
The second law is arguably the most unbreakable rule in our universe. Simply put, it states that global entropy, which is the total measure of disorder or randomness in a closed system, must always increase over time.
Everything falls apart.
Basically, yeah. Things naturally decay. Heat dissipates. Systems spread out. Over a long enough timeline, everything just loses its structure.
Which brings up a massive glaring paradox when you actually look up at the night sky.
Right.
Think of it like a teenager's incredibly messy bedroom.
I love this analogy.
Right. The overall entropy of that room is constantly aggressively increasing. There are clothes thrown on the floor, empty cups gathering on the desk, just general chaos everywhere you look.
Absolute disaster zone.
Exactly. But somehow, against all odds, in the far corner of that incredibly messy room, a perfectly ordered, highly structured, alphabetized stack of comic books magically emerges out of the chaos.
The expanding universe is that messy bedroom.
Yeah.
The total entropy of the cosmos is objectively going up as space expands.
Yeah.
And yet we see these highly ordered structures everywhere we look.
Yeah.
Perfectly spiraling galaxies, intricate solar systems, the sheer biological complexity of a living cell.
Which shouldn't exist if everything is supposed to be falling apart.
Right. The paradox that has haunted physics is this. How does the universe carve out these perfectly ordered thermodynamic zones for complex structure to form without breaking the ironclad rule of the second law?
It feels like the ultimate cosmic accounting error. I mean, you can't just have immense order pop out of nowhere if the fundamental rule of reality says everything must constantly become more disordered.
Exactly. And the mainstream physics community has been trying to balance that ledger for decades. And in this current year, 2026, the big breakthrough that has completely consumed the mainstream literature is a framework by a physicist named Bianconi.
Bianconi. Yeah.
It's called gravity from entropy, or GFE for short.
GFE. Got it. So how does Bianconi's GFE model balance the ledger? Like, how does it explain the perfectly stacked comic books in the messy room?
So Bianconi's model looks at localized volume. It demonstrates that while the total entropy of the expanding universe is always increasing on a macro scale,
For the whole room.
right, the whole room, but the localized entropy per unit volume can actually decrease. The universe basically creates little pockets of intense order, your comic book stack, by aggressively paying the entropic debt elsewhere in the vast, empty expansion of space.
Oh, wow. Okay, so now that we understand the mainstream solution, this gravity from entropy idea that everyone in 2026 is currently celebrating, we need to look at exactly how that mainstream math actually operates.
Yeah, we have to look under the hood.
Because this is the exact moment where Sewell and Saikou come aggressively barging into the room waving their own equations.
To understand the dispute, you really have to look at Bianconi's math. The mainstream GFE approach relies on a concept called quantum geometric relative entropy.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, often shortened to QGRE.
Quantum geometric relative entropy. I mean, just hearing that makes me want to reach for a chalkboard. What is that actually doing conceptually?
Well, it measures a specific kind of tension. Think of a geometric metric as the rulebook for the shape of space-time in a specific area. In the GFE model, Bianconi proposes there are two competing metrics layered on top of each other.
Two rulebooks.
Sort of. First, you have the true underlying baseline space-time metric, the default shape of the void.
Oh, the baseline reality.
Right. And second, you have the metric that is induced or warped by the actual physical stuff existing inside it.
Like matter, fields, curvature.
Exactly. So you have the baseline shape of space and the warped shape of space sitting right on top of it. QGRE is the mathematical measurement of the difference or the tension between those two geometries.
Wait, let me make sure I'm visualizing this correctly, because in the past I've heard tension described like a stretched rubber band, but that doesn't really explain how it creates anything.
No, it doesn't.
Instead, imagine having two extremely detailed digital maps of the exact same city.
Okay.
The first map is a perfect grid. That's our baseline metric. But the second map has been heavily distorted. The roads are curved and bunched up wherever there are heavy buildings or traffic.
Right, the warped metric.
Yeah, and if you overlay the distorted map onto the perfect grid, they don't match up. The computer program trying to run both maps at the same time starts generating massive amounts of heat and processing errors because of the discrepancy between the two.
That is a much more accurate way to understand the mechanism. The mathematical stress of trying to reconcile those two conflicting geometries isn't just an abstract number.
It's physical.
Yes. In Bianconi's equation, the energy of the system is literally proportional to the difference between those two realities. That difference, that algorithmic stress, like in your computer analogy, manifests physically as what we observe as dynamical dark energy.
Wow.
It is what gives us gravity from entropy. The tension itself creates the structure.
Wait. I'm looking at this and I have to push back a little on Bianconi's grand theory here.
Go for it.
If GFE is just comparing two local shapes of space, a baseline grid and a warped grid, isn't he still just playing around on the original stage?
Ah.
I mean, he's not explaining where the theater came from, he's just describing the dents in the floorboards. It feels like a local fix, like he's just adjusting the zoom on a local street map.
What's fascinating here is you have instinctively arrived at the exact limitation that drove Sewell and Saikou to publish today's monograph.
Oh, really?
You are completely right. Bianconi's model is entirely reliant on local coordinate geometry.
Because to me, while the math might be brilliant, it feels fundamentally small. It doesn't answer the big question of emergence.
And that is precisely Sewell and Saikou's formal argument. They are asserting that this mainstream GFE model, all this celebrated talk about tension between two local metrics generating dark energy, is merely a specialized, lower-dimensional coordinate slice of a much grander architecture.
The lower dimensional coordinate slice.
Right.
Meaning Bianconi is only looking at a tiny, localized 2D cross-section of a massive 3D object and claiming he discovered the whole object.
Yes. And the real drama is that Sewell and Saikou are proving they already built the overarching architecture that encompasses Bianconi's tiny sliver.
The timestamps.
Exactly. They time-stamped their grand framework back on July 16th and 17th of 2025.
Wow.
A full year
Wow.
before Bianconi's GFE model took the physics world by storm.
Oh, man. So they are watching the mainstream academic community hand out awards and lose their minds over this gravity from entropy model. And they are sitting there in their offices saying, guys, we built the entire building a year ago, and you're taking credit for discovering one of the closets.
Which is why today's monograph is a defensive prior art anchor. It is designed to protect the historical continuity and academic attribution of their 2025 work, which they titled the Structured Multiversal Interactions Framework. or SMI.
Okay, let's dig into SMI, because if we want to truly grasp why Sewell and Saikou's 2025 framework is superior to the mainstream 2026 models, we have to completely abandon local coordinate geometry.
Completely.
We have to enter a highly abstract realm of mathematics called category theory.
And category theory is notoriously difficult for people to conceptualize because it forces you to stop caring about specific locations.
It's not about the map anymore.
No, it steps away from local coordinates entirely. It doesn't care about the specific x, y, and z axes of a single point in space. Instead, category theory looks at the universal structures and the strict rules of translation between entirely distinct, seemingly unrelated systems.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Let's go back to our map analogy. Standard coordinate geometry, which Bianconi used for GFE, is like a highly detailed street map of a single city. It shows you exactly where Main Street intersects with First Avenue, how the traffic flows, and where the stoplights are. It's incredibly useful if you live inside that specific city.
Right. And in physics, that street map represents the local metrics we were just discussing.
Right. But functorial category theory, which is the math powering Sewell and Saikou's SMI framework, is not a map of a city at all. It is the universal laws of urban planning.
I love that.
It dictates how all possible cities must fundamentally be built, regardless of their specific street names, and it establishes the overarching rules for how transit systems can physically connect one city to another across the globe.
In the SMI framework, Sewell and Saikou use this level of abstraction to treat entire distinct universes not as maps, but as single objects within a larger category.
A single object.
Yeah, in their mathematical notation, they label an individual universe simply as U sub n.
Wait, slow down. So our entire observable universe, every galaxy, every black hole, all the dark energy, the entire history of everything we can see, is reduced to a single variable in their math.
Just one object.
Yeah.
U sub n.
Just one object.
Precisely. And instead of using local geometric tension to explain how forces operate within that universe, SMI models extra-dimensional forces as functors.
Functors.
Yeah. A functor is the mathematical rule that translates the structure of one universe into the structure of another.
Okay, so if universes are the individual cities in our urban planning analogy, the functor is the physical highway system connecting them, like determining what kind of vehicles can travel between them.
Yes, and it goes even one layer deeper than that. They use what are called natural transformations to model the relationships between the functors themselves.
Oh, wow.
So functors and natural transformations completely replace standard geometric grids. They describe informational tension on a staggering multiversal scale across the boundaries of entirely different realities, rather than just measuring a local fluctuation on a single street map.
This is genuinely staggering to think about. When you lay it out like that, it makes the GFE model look like a microscope focused on a single grain of sand, while SMI is the James Webb Space Telescope mapping out the entire beach.
It really does. But this raises an important question, though. We have this beautiful high-level math. But if category theory is the grand blueprint of multiversal urban planning, what actually forces the local streets and buildings, our observable space-time structure, to emerge in the first place?
Yeah, how do we get from a multiversal blueprint down to the actual gravity holding our feet to the floor right now?
Right.
Because if you can't connect this incredibly high-level, abstract urban planning math to the actual pavement we walk on, it's just academic poetry.
Exactly. It doesn't mean anything to our lived reality.
Right.
So this is where Sewell and Saikou introduced the absolute crown jewel of their 2025 prior art claim. It is the specific mechanism that bridges the multiverse to the local street map. They call it the Reality Level Scalar Integration Protocol.
The Reality Level Scalar, and wait, I'm looking at the source text for the monograph here. Is that trademarked?
It is, yeah. The mathematical notation is she with a trademark symbol. The Greek letter she, followed by a literal trademark symbol.
You have to admit, that is wildly aggressive for a theoretical physics paper. Trademarking a mathematical scalar.
It's unheard of.
That is the ultimate, we're here first, do not steal this flex. It really highlights how defensive this document is. They aren't just publishing a theory, they are legally and academically marking their territory.
It is incredibly rare to see that in a physics monograph, which shows you exactly how high the stakes are. But the physics behind the reality level scalar is undeniable. If you recall, in mainstream GFE, the emergence of that localized thermodynamic order, your perfectly stacked comic books, was seen as a geometric byproduct.
Right.
The universe expands, a debt is paid, order pops up.
Right, the algorithmic stress of the mismatched maps generating heat.
But the reality level scalar completely reframes that mechanism. It proves that the emergence of localized order isn't just a quirky byproduct of local geometry. It is a strict structural necessity dictated by a categorical mapping of the multiverse.
How does it do that?
Well, the G-scalar acts as a bottleneck. It mathematically scares the relational capacity of information as it tries to cross these multiversal interaction boundaries.
Let me make sure I follow the mechanics of this because this sounds like the crux of the whole paper. It acts as an information bottleneck,
Mm-hmm.
meaning it's the mathematical mechanism that dictates exactly how much multiversal data can actually squeeze through the boundary and translate down into our local reality.
That is the exact mechanism. Imagine trying to force a massive high-definition 3D movie file through an old, slow internet connection. The data has to be compressed.
And that compression, that physical process of translating infinite multiversal relations down into a limited local space is what creates the structure of space-time itself.
Hmm.
The structure we see and feel is just the physical manifestation of that data bottleneck.
You've got it perfectly.
Yeah.
The tension isn't just stretching a localized fabric within one universe. It is the immense fundamental tension of information squeezing through the boundaries of realities dictated by this reality level scalar.
Wow.
The floorboards of the stage are actively generated by the data trying to render the play.
So what does this all mean for you listening, for the physics community, for Sewell and Saikou writing this deeply defensive paper today in 2026? What is the ultimate takeaway of this specific technical monograph?
If we connect this to the bigger picture,
Uh.
this 2026 paper serves as a vital translation matrix.
Okay.
Sewell and Saikou aren't just yelling into the academic void that they were first. They are providing the rigorous step-by-step mathematical key to seamlessly convert their high-level functorial category theory down into the exact low-energy coordinate expressions that the mainstream physics community is currently obsessing over with Bianconi's GFE.
Oh, they are basically saying, here is the overarching multiversal source code, and here is the exact algorithm you run to dial it down and get the local gravity equations you guys are currently winning awards for.
Precisely. It mathematically forces historical continuity. Anyone operating in fields like entropic gravity or network geometry now has to cite this text because Sewell and Saikou have proven that the popular mainstream models are natively codified as tiny subsets inside their XMI framework from 2025.
It is a phenomenal mic drop of a paper.
Hmm.
Let's take a step back and look at the profound journey we just took.
It's a lot.
It really is. We started with a local thermodynamic mystery. How does our universe create ordered, complex structure while the overall entropy of the cosmos demands chaos?
Right.
We looked at the mainstream 2026 answer, which viewed it as localized entropic reduction, basically geometric accounting tricks on a single map.
And then we zoomed all the way out to 2025's Structured Multiversal Interactions framework, discarding the map entirely to look at the high-level multiversal information networks that govern all possible maps.
And the reason this matters to you is because this isn't just academic bickering over who gets a Nobel Prize or who gets to trademark a Greek letter.
No.
This is a fundamental redefinition of your existence. The reality you occupy, the physical space you are sitting in right now, isn't a fixed, static wooden box. It is a localized emergent projection. It is the physical manifestation of relational information squeezing through a multiversal bottleneck.
The stage itself is made of math and tension, constantly bleeding in from a higher dimensional architecture that we are only just beginning to map.
Which brings up a final, truly mind-bending concept for you to mull over on your own as you go about your day.
Oh, this is the best part.
If our entire observable universe, with all our familiar rules of gravity, our specific flavor of dark energy, and our strict laws of thermodynamics, is just one specialized, low-dimensional slice governed by these natural transformations, what entirely alien laws of physics might be operating in the adjacent universal objects mapped by the SMI framework?
The U sub n variables. If multiversal information tension creates standard gravity here, what kind of bizarre forces does it create there?
If the universal laws of urban planning built our specific city of space-time with the physics we know and love, what impossible geometries, what unimaginable realities did it build the next city over? The stage is an illusion, but the multiverse of stages is vast, and thanks to papers like this, we're only just beginning to learn how to read the blueprints. Thank you so much for joining us on this incredibly deep, incredibly heavy exploration today. Keep questioning the floorboards beneath your feet, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.